Welcome. I'm Karen Harrison. This is Reiki Call. It's December 2022. My website is karenharrison.net, and I have a fantastic guest with me tonight. I know you're going to be so excited to hear from her, Jules Davis. Her website is healingwithjules.com. She's located in Los Angeles. She's one of our licensed teachers, and we are going on a Hawaii trip with the licensed teachers in just a couple of weeks, so pretty excited about that. So Jules is a highly qualified and experienced professional psychic, medium, Usui and Karuna Reiki Master. She's an ICRT Animal Reiki Master, Master Crystal Healer, Sound Healer, a medical intuitive, animal communicator, spiritual teacher, and owner of Aura Lux in Redondo Beach, California. And she's been featured on BuzzFeed, E's, what is that, E exclamation point?
E, like the TV station.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I don't watch TV. I don't know anything about it.
That's okay.
The Platinum Life, Super Deluxe, Mixed Makeup, LATV, and in Sunset Magazine. So anyway, what I did is I thought of all the questions that my students have been asking me over the years, and I thought, let's ask Jules all these questions so that, you know, somebody that's got a lot of experience can answer them. So our topic, Reiki and Intuition. So the first thing, you know, that people have asked me about is what to do with intuitive information gained in a session. You know, if information comes through, do you share it? You know, if so, how do you share it? How do you know what to share, what not to share? Okay, well, that was
a short question, a small question.
a small part of the questions. Yes. So, go for it, Jules.
Yeah, I think it depends first and foremost on your comfortability with your intuition and your intuitive abilities, like how much you trust the information, because you wouldn't want to share something that could be either harmful or scary to somebody unless you're like absolutely certain and sure of that information. The other thing that I would say around all of that is just to practice discernment. I always ask my intuition, my spirit guides, etc., is this something that I should share? Because sometimes I think information comes in just to help us with the healing process, and it's not necessarily something that we need to go into a big conversation about with our client. So you know, there's a lot of layers to psychic development or intuitive development to really get, you know, a lot of people have a natural ability, and we all have the ability to tune into our intuition because we're all intuitive people. We're all sensitive in some way, and some of us are just born a little bit more sensitive. So if you're already working with your intuition and you have a good sense of your intuitive abilities, I would just practice discernment. Is this something that I should share? Sometimes you start the conversation at the end. I don't usually share, like interrupt the session to share something with somebody unless it's something that I think is absolutely necessary for their health or well-being in that moment. But after the session, I might share some feedback with them, and I might just open the door very gently and see if they feel comfortable talking about it, especially if it's something very intimate or very personal about their life. If that makes sense. So, you know, depending on your abilities, sometimes like I see traumas and all sorts of tragic events, you know, because I'm looking like, how can I help this person heal? And so sometimes some pretty heavy stuff comes into my consciousness and awareness. And when that comes into my awareness, is this something that I need to share with them, or that is okay to bring up today?
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, I know I had a Reiki student come to me. She had a session with someone at her chiropractic clinic who is not a Reiki practitioner. And that person told her that he saw her getting in a car accident, but that if she would work with him, that she could avoid that. So what do you think of that kind of psychic information?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely qualities of practitioners or ethics. That's a really big topic, actually, ethical intuition. And in my personal opinion, I don't feel like putting fear into people is really helpful. So I don't really get that kind of information that often. It has happened before where I saw like a friend of mine's son getting into an accident in the future. And I said, just like keep an eye on him because he feels like there's a lot of reckless energy around him. And I didn't divulge everything to her. And it ended up that he got into a pretty bad accident right after that. And he had a series of issues coming up, but I kind of had prepared her for it in a very gentle way. I think that there's ways of sharing information that are not A, interfering with somebody's free will, and B, again, practicing discernment. Is this for their highest good, me sharing this information? And I've heard all sorts of stories from people telling people to leave their partners or, like making big major life decisions. And I just don't think that that's ethical in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anytime that you're interfering with someone's free will, telling them what to do, that is not going to be good.
Well, and, because I'm a medical intuitive, I get a lot of medical information, but I'm very confident in my abilities because, as Karen knows, I've spent a lot of years developing my intuitive awareness. And it wasn't until I got to the point where I felt very confident in my information that I would even consider giving that kind of information to somebody. And there have been times where I have received information that somebody did need to go to the doctor and get themselves checked out because there was a serious condition there. And so in those cases, I would say to the person, something's going on and it's getting my attention. And I would really, it feels like something that you should probably go check out with your doctor sooner than later, if it feels like something urgent. And that's what I'll just recommend. They go to a licensed medical provider or mental health care professional, somebody that's, can help them. It's beyond my scope of practice. So I won't diagnose them, even if I see what the actual illness is, but I'll tell them that they need to go get checked. And sometimes, they've reached out to me afterwards and said, thank you for encouraging me to go to the doctor because I have cancer, like that kind of stuff. But I didn't tell them that. Their doctor told them that information.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be times when you have to give, and that you don't have to do anything, so we have free will as well as a practitioner. But if you decide to integrate your intuitive capabilities with a session and you get some information that's helpful for the person, I always practice discernment. And that's what I teach my students as well, is to practice discernment. Is this for their highest good? How can I say this in a way that won't inspire a lot of fear as well? Because, we can't control somebody's reaction to information, but there's definitely ways we can deliver information that has more kindness or caring or compassion behind it too.
Yes, even when we're doing our bios and scanning, I've had a few clients in the past where I felt some disturbed energy over their heart. And so it wouldn't be ethical as a Reiki practitioner to diagnose or say, I think you have heart problems. But what we can say is I detected some staticky energy over your chest in this area. I would suggest that you go get that checked out by a doctor. And
Right.
those times, those people had I forgot the name of it, the skipping heartbeat type problem.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it, Christina?
Just saying palpitations.
Palpitations.
Yeah. I can read lips apparently too. See, I'm psychic and I can just reading her mind.
That's the one thing I was going for, but close enough. So.
I mean, there's different names. It could be different things, but yeah, I mean, that's you. basically how I would give the information. I feel like there's some energy over here that's getting my attention, and I encourage you to go to the OBGYN or, get it checked out next time you're at the doctor. Maybe ask them to check this or that out. That's the kind of stuff that I usually say. And if it's not scary, I usually make sure to tell people this is not scary and it's not urgent, but next time maybe go ahead and ask your doctor for this or that. It comes up a lot with women's health stuff too. I'm not sure if you get that a lot in your sessions, Karen, but I don't know if it's because of my own history with women's health issues, but I tend to I'm like a detector of all kinds of things going on for women and their reproductive health and stuff like that as well. And so I'll encourage them to ask for extra diagnostics the next time they go to their doctors. And that's helped them to locate some issues as well, or get to the bottom of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, speaking of women's health issues, one thing that I found very interesting, because I'm also a certified sex therapist, is being able to work with pelvic bowl issues hands off through use of a special puppet that I have that represents, women's pelvic bowl, and then being able to work, kind of intuitively to clear out energy that is stuck in the pelvic bowl. So that's been a really interesting way to use my Reiki and intuition.
Yeah, that's great. There's so many creative ways. And usually, they can come from us. Sometimes spirit just drops in an idea for us too while we're working on somebody. So yeah, did I answer all of the questions to do with that, or
I'm looking back at my notes here.
Well, it was like a multi-part question. So
I know, how to, what to do with it, how to know if it's worth sharing, how to relay the info. I mean, before you share it, do you ask permission to share, or how do you do that?
Yeah, that's what I mean about asking my intuitive awareness. So whether you want to look at it as your higher self, your spirit team, your guides that work with you, is this something that I should share? That's always what I ask, especially if it's a more delicate subject. I always ask intuitively first. I check in. And just like with Reiki, where you can get a yes or no, is the energy flowing or not flowing? It's like something just kind of tells you, yeah, the energy's flowing. It's the same with your intuition. You'll get like a signal that feels like, yeah, this is right to share, or no, I think that this is maybe something they're not quite ready to talk about or hear about, or we don't need to share that with them today.
Yeah. But before I share anything with a client, I just like to tell them I'm not a trained psychic, take this into your own meditation, see if it fits for you. And I ask permission from the client to share.
Oh, yeah. You mean you ask them if you can tune into them in that way, or?
Well, if I've gotten information that came up, then I ask them if it's okay to share it before I do share it.
Oh, okay. I think probably my clients have an expectation because of the work that I do, and because most of them come in and they get psychic readings from me also. So I think that is just kind of a thing that I don't even consider asking them, but that's a good point to give to people that might not be already in that realm. To ask them. I actually ask my clients if it's okay to tune into them on a psychic level, because to me, that's different from just feeling the energy. And some people are a little bit scared, like, what is she going to see? So I like to get their permission. Can I tune into you? Would you like this session to be a little bit deeper? And then we'll go into maybe something that I become aware of on that level, not just a feeling of energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be clear about what you're offering. That's been my experience. I had a session with a Reiki practitioner a number of years ago that she would work on, she'd do a hand position and then she'd stop and take notes about what she picked up intuitively. Then she'd do another hand position and stop and take notes. So I got half a Reiki session and then, some sort of body reading, but that isn't what I thought I was going to get. So I like to tell my students, be clear about what it is you're offering and make sure that that's what your client is wanting.
Yeah, to be honest, my 1 hour sessions, I don't usually do much psychic work with them at all. I'm just aware of the energy and how the energy wants me to work with them. Because often when I'm tuning in more on a psychic level for deeper guidance, I guess I'll call it, for deeper layers of healing or deeper level healing, for me to become aware, because not everybody actually knows what's preventing them from achieving an outcome or where they're stuck with energy. It's sometimes a big surprise to people when I bring up different things from their childhood that I become aware of just psychically. So in my shorter sessions, I might give a little bit of feedback, but I'm actually just trying to be a clear channel of the Reiki energy. So I'm not really tuning in on an extensive level. I do longer sessions and then we talk about it first. And I tell them we can do option A, which is just an extended like Reiki crystal sound healing session, or we can do option B, where it's Reiki crystals and sound healing. That's the combination I use. And then also I can go a little bit deeper with you on a psychic level and tune in and see where things are coming into my awareness that need to heal around what we just discussed in our consultation. And then I can work with them in that way. And then that can open all sorts of doors to other kinds of healing. And that's when I go in more on a psychic level with them and start tuning in and stay on that frequency for a while. And then at some point I switch and I'm just in the Reiki mode, So I'm not consciously or intentionally picking up a whole bunch of information about them. It's more about, where are my hands going? What do I feel they need for the energy healing?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it sounds like you're accessing different frequencies of energy if you're working with Reiki or if you're tuning in to get psychic information.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening simultaneously with the Reiki. Like I can be giving them Reiki, my hands are on them, I'm giving them Reiki, but I'm also tuning in and I'm asking, where's the root cause of this situation? Whether it's a illness, an injury, some kind of goal that they're not achieving. And then I'll start to psychically become aware of things in their life without them telling me anything, which is interesting. And then we go to different times and periods in their life, or maybe it's going beyond this lifetime and we go into that stuff too. But it's usually stuff that they would recognize that they might not have been aware was something that was still having a pretty profound effect on them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a different way that I work with my psychic abilities in a session simultaneously.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of times people have kind of buried old things and they're not aware that it's still having an impact on them.
Yeah.
Well, another big question that students have asked me about is a number of them have found that Reiki has helped to open up their high sense perceptions. And some of them have become aware of spirits and have felt pestered by spirits. And I've told them, that is not Reiki, doing that. It's just, Reiki has helped to open up your high sense perceptions. I mean, what would you say to them about, how would you explain that? And then also, what would you tell them, what can they do about it?
So I agree with you that it's not necessarily the Reiki, it's just that they've opened up maybe in a new level of consciousness or awareness for themselves. And I usually tell them that, remember, you have free will. So just like Reiki respects our free will, spirit respects our free will. Sometimes it's just about setting a boundary. Often people will tell you that they did have experiences with when they were a kid and then it went away and then it came back, if you really start to have a conversation. And while that's not everybody, sometimes people have this great awakening with Reiki. I think a lot of people are scared of the spirit world because of negative connotations, like how it's expressed in our society and our culture. So people are just fearful of it in general. And the spirit world, if they're pestering them or bothering them, it's usually they're just trying to get their attention. So what I would recommend is you can set a boundary, like, I'm not available right now, come back during my business hours and we'll have a conversation. Or You can also just say, you know, the way that you're approaching me is bothering me or frightening me, whatever the case may be, and just set that boundary very authoritatively with spirit, and they will listen and respond to that boundary. And once you get over the fear factor, and I'm not saying that everybody has fear there, it could just be that they're feeling bothered by spirit because they're now open and don't know how to turn that off, so to speak. But if there's a fear factor to it, I would just tune into that fear and move past it, because again, that's usually something that's created by our society, where we believe that the spirit world can have dominion over us in some way, that it can affect us in a negative way. And if you set that boundary, in my experience, they really respect that boundary. I mean, I was just telling somebody the other day, I was just in London at that college I go to over there, and it's a very spiritually active building. I mean, it's from the 1800s, and just all the people that have been through there and people that have passed in there, and all the different activity of this place is pretty active usually. And so this time I was like, you know what, guys, I need to sleep. I will work with you all day tomorrow, but I am not available tonight. So leave me alone. And that's like the boundary that I set every night before I went to bed. I'm like, we have all day tomorrow together, and I'm happy to work with you then. A lot of us are more receptive as well in different times of the day, especially right before we're going to sleep, or right as we're waking up, or while we're asleep. And so that can also be a time when spirit's just trying to get our attention. But if people have that sensitivity and they want to explore it, usually once you start working with it, they bother you a lot less, whatever, a lot less, because you're actually working with it. And so they're not trying to reach you at times because they're like, oh, maybe this is a time she'll pay attention to us, you know?
Okay. And do you provide, training for people that want to develop their psychic and intuitive abilities more?
Yeah, I do. Actually, Christina was in some of my classes. I do psychic and mediumistic development, and we talk about intuition as part of that. And I usually do 4-week to 12-week series. So it either runs for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 12 weeks, depending on the group and the time of year. And those are ongoing throughout the year.
Okay.
We call them circles. So they're like a weekly meetup so that you can see your progression during the course of the group.
Okay. And you can find out about all of that on Healing with Jules.
Yes. Yeah, my 2023 classes will be up this week, and for the first part of the year. So they'll be up soon. And all of those are posted on my website, healingwithjules.com.
Okay, that's exciting. Well, I'd like to open it up to see. I bet some of you all have some questions. And George, now you've duplicated yourself, so that's pretty cool.
I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to figure out how to get it on my computer without losing you guys altogether.
That's okay. Well, do you have a question?
Yeah. So I have been doing Reiki on individuals, and there are times where something kind of comes up, and I don't really know whether to speak on it or not. And I'll say something very vague, like the very last time was a lady I'd worked on in person, and I could tell in her throat chakra there was a lot going on. And I said, you've got a lot of things on your mind that you feel like you want to say, and I would say, go ahead and express it, figure out how you want to express it, but express it. And I was saying, you will come into your alignment if you do more of that. I don't like to get into specifics, and I don't know, how would you encourage someone who is a practitioner in that regard?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. How to get into specifics or trust your information more, or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question would be, are there times where you think that, well, something comes up? How do you know whether you should go ahead and release the revelation to that person or not?
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about earlier while you were driving, so you might not have caught all of it.
I
It's
didn't.
really, yeah, that's okay. It's really like just asking your own higher self, intuitive self, is this something that I should be sharing? Is
Okay.
it appropriate to share? Are they ready to receive this information? And then with discernment, is this how I should share it? Practice compassion. And the way that we articulate our words, I think that comes through experience more than anything and practice.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, I would just ask for permission intuitively. Is this something that's comfortable to share? Should I share this with this person?
Okay.
And I also
Thank you,
mentioned
sweetie.
earlier, if it's a sensitive subject, you can kind of gently open the door to see, there's a lot going on in your throat chakra, and see if they want to talk about that.
Okay.
That's how I've broached the subject sometimes, especially when there's something more sensitive, like trauma or something that might be stuck in a certain area. There's a lot coming up in this area, and see if they're open to hearing about it or sharing with you. You can kind of sense, are they recoiling? Are they like, oh, thank you for, being aware of that? You can observe them with your intuition and your eyeballs too, to see how they're responding to things.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, that's helpful. But yeah, just ask, and you'll learn to trust that guidance as you continue to express yourself with it. It'll just come so naturally to you. You won't have to go, should I, shouldn't I? It's just like you just get that kind of permission without having to check in after a while.
Thank you, Miss Jules. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I remember there was another question that we talked about, Jules, before we began, and that is how to determine if this information is coming from a good, valid source, or if it's something else, something you made up. For example, I had a client of mine who was about 9 weeks pregnant, and she felt like she was going to have a girl, and and I tuned in, and it kind of felt like it was a girl also. And then 2 weeks later she told me, nope, we were both wrong, it's a boy. I thought, well, my abilities are not doing very well. Maybe I should never share anything again.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, there is no psychic or medium on this planet that's 100% accurate all of the time.
I had a 50% chance. So
yeah, you had a 50-50. And who knows, maybe they will become a girl at some point. Maybe that's the energy of, maybe they're born male, but that's not the gender that they prefer. So you never know. That's also something that could happen. I definitely have felt gender differently depending on the energy of the person. So not necessarily by how they were assigned at birth, but just the energy itself. You can sometimes feel if it's male or female. But so my answer, aside from what you already said, is that it's really, when it's coming through your intuition, it's just drops right in. You either feel it, you just have a knowing of it. The word falls out of your mouth without you even thinking about what you're saying. You might also hear it. You might see it clairvoyantly. You see something. And all of those things, I mean, I really do encourage people to take classes. The reason being, with a good teacher, because the reason being is you start to really get in the groove, just kind of like exercising. It's like, yeah, I have muscles in my body, but maybe they're not all working in the way that I want them to work. And then as you start working with them, it's like, whoa, I didn't even know I could lift that much weight or do this or that, because everything starts working together in a new way and your body starts adapting to that. And then suddenly your stamina is better and it affects other parts of your life. I have people that even they're more confident in their everyday life just because they've learned how to trust their intuition more, or how to speak differently to people and all of that. So when it's coming from you, your higher source of information, or from spirit, your spirit guides, your spirit team, it's usually very clear and concise information. It's not convoluted. It's not a whole big story or confusing. It's just like, bam, this is your information. And that's how you know it's coming in from something else.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, does somebody else have a question?
And I'll just add to that, Karen, because sometimes when somebody asks us a question, we want to give them an answer. So sometimes that's when our imagination can come in. It's not coming through our intuition as well.
Well, another thing that has happened to me in sessions is I've had clients that will want me to give them information and guidance about what they should do. And that is not, I don't think that is my role. I'm a trained counselor, and it's also not my role as a counselor to tell someone, what to do. So I just try to help them tune into their own guidance and help them, determine what they want to do. Think about one idea and feel into your body, see how your body feels. Think about your alternative, feel into your body, see how it feels. Which way does your body feel more relaxed and happier? Or if they're a visual person, ask them to visualize one idea and look to see how much light there is around it. And then the other idea and see how much light, and see which one has the more light. So I'll do that sort of thing. But do you find that sometimes people will try and get you to tell them, what to do?
Yeah. I mean, why do you think they come for psychic readings? That's what they want you to make life choices for them. And I have to tell people all the time, like, this is not my choice or my decision to make. Here's the potentials on different paths, that I can feel into or whatever. But ultimately, my opinion is that it's our job to empower people to make good choices for themselves, or to help them heal themselves. So I'm not going to make those choices for them. And that's where we started, was when people give information that is taking free will out of the equation, or could potentially be interfering in a negative way with somebody. To me, that's an ethical violation of giving information intuitively. Or is it even coming from an intuitive place? Or, so there's lots of conversations to be had about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Eve, you had a question?
Yeah. I'm sort of new to Reiki. I'm a spiritual person, but I feel like I have so many health issues that, I feel like I really need to learn this myself. And so I'm just wondering, as a starting point, is there something that I can do, or something that you can recommend as far as outside of certification, just for personal use, for healing? Something that I can do on my own to start.
You mean tuning into your intuition?
Yeah.
Or a Reiki? What are we talking about? Just so I'm clear.
Both, but more, I was thinking about Reiki specifically.
Okay. Do you want to answer that, Karen, or do you want me to answer that?
Oh, go ahead. You're the guest.
All right. Well, how to help to heal yourself, Eve? Is that the question?
Yeah, just as a starting point. Yeah. What would be a good starting point to just begin Reiki for self-healing? For a beginner.
What level are you attuned to, Eve?
I don't know the terminology. I'm actually new to Reiki. So.
Oh, okay. So have you taken a Reiki class before, or
no?
Not yet. Okay,
Okay.
well, first I would recommend taking a Reiki class so that you actually can access the Reiki energy. So you need the attunement, we call it, and that's what your teacher, like if Karen was your teacher, she'd be initiating you through this attunement process, or we call it a placement in Holy Fire Reiki. And that gives you the access to be able to channel the Reiki energy itself. And then through those classes, we teach you techniques on how to do self-healing. So you would learn the tools in the classes. And if you don't feel yet that you're ready to take like a Reiki class, you could just place your hands comfortably on your body. I really like to place one hand on my heart and one hand on my belly. That just feels really nice. It's a very nurturing way to tune into your body. And just focus on your breath. And you can close your eyes and just take a few breaths and imagine light coming down from the heavens into your body. And just feel that with each breath, the light coming in deeper into your body. And just, that's something that you could practice as a little meditation, tune in and feel how that feels. And then when you're ready, I would take a Reiki class and then learn how to actually access the Reiki energy itself so you can channel that. Because then it's coming completely from a higher power and you don't have to worry about it coming from you or burning yourself out in any kind of way.
Yes, another thing that you can do, Eve, is come to Reiki Circle where you can receive Reiki healing. I have it online on the second Monday of the month and in person in Kansas City on the fourth Monday of the month. Except for December where it falls over the holidays, then we don't have it. So that's another thing that you could do. And
Yeah.
Jules, you have quite a few podcasts and things and a YouTube channel, right?
I don't have a YouTube channel, but I've been a guest on a lot of podcasts. Yeah. And I do offer free healing as well, Eve, if you want to attend and receive that way. So there's lots of different practitioners out there, especially since the pandemic, who have been doing things online. So you can join from wherever and then receive that way. And just being around the energy, it might, you feel the energy and you can receive the energy and then learn some tools and techniques of how to access your own energy too.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody else have a question? Okay, well, Jules, we talked about doing a little meditation. So,
Yeah, sure.
okay, time to do that.
Yeah. I'm gonna, yes, that's a perfect time to do that. So if you guys want to go ahead and close your eyes. And you don't have to place your hands in Gasho, which is two hands coming together in front of your heart. If you know that position, you can do that. You can also just place your hands on your body, like I just mentioned, or any other way that's comfortable for you. The tops of your thighs is also a nice spot. And you can either sit cross-legged or with your feet flat on the floor. Just sit in a way that's comfortable for your body so that you won't be fidgeting if possible. And if you haven't already, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a few cleansing breaths. And just breathe a little bit deeper than you normally would. And try slowing down your breath. Bringing your breath awareness and attention into your body. Honing into the power of you and your soul. And then visualize a beautiful, bright, white light right in the center of your physical body. This is the divine essence, the purest part of who you are. And this beautiful light, it moves upwards and downwards, spreading within your physical body and then expanding out beyond the confines of your physical body. This beautiful bright light is the lightness of your soul, and it expands in every direction. You can feel that power of you. In the physical world around you, it begins to slowly disappear as you just become one with the energy of spirit. Feel yourself expanding into this abyss of beautiful, pure love. And feel yourself being held there, nurtured by the exchange of energy, this beautiful connection of oneness. And remember that your light is just as bright as the light of these divine beings all around you. Just sit for a moment in that feeling, this vibration of unconditional love. Now feel your energy slowly returning into your body, coming back into the physical realm. That beautiful bright light, the power of you. And take as long as you like. When you're ready, you can gently bring your awareness back and open your eyes. Move your body if you need to.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Welcome.
So do you think that would be one way to help people develop their intuitive abilities to spend time in self Reiki and daily meditation?
Yeah, definitely, because it will increase your sensitivity to the spirit world, especially your own self, your own soul. The power of our own soul is a huge part of spiritual development. And sometimes people skip over that part of getting to know themselves and healing themselves. So through meditation, through self Reiki, through healing your own stuff, it will actually really help to deepen your intuitive connection and your intuitive ability as well. So we won't see through as many lenses or filters of projection when we're healing our stuff too. And that meditation, the expansion of our own soul, our own spirit, because we're just, confined by this physical body right now, but our spirit, our soul is very much alive and has the ability to travel and do all sorts of wonderful things and connect with the spirit world through different kinds of travel, whether you believe in astral travel or journeying, etc. And so that meditation, the point of it is to acknowledge the power of your own soul, but then also just be in the presence and the power of the spirit world, not for the sake of connecting or getting a reading going or anything like that, but just to be in the energy of that and feel the expansion of that and what that feels like. And for people who have a really active mind, and maybe that's a hard thing for them to do, they could actually do active meditations like going for a walk in nature and just inviting their spirit guides, their spirit team, spirit as a whole to just come with them and just be like meditating while they're walking and connecting to the energy of nature. That's a nice way too.
Mhm.
So those are good things, I think, for people to do that will help them to increase their awareness and connection.
Well, I think that was really interesting what you said, that the more healed a psychic or a medium is, the less that they're seeing through layers of their own stuff and possibly projecting their own issues onto someone else. So I'd never heard that before, but that totally makes sense. So I think that's very important. Yeah. So I've also had students, some of them that are interested in doing Reiki and like a tarot card reading. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think offer it as an additional modality. So like that's what I do. I let people know that my psychic ability is something separate from Reiki. So they're not confused about what a Reiki session looks like, or they want me to give them a psychic reading while I'm doing Reiki on them. It's a different kind of experience. The psychic awareness that I was talking about earlier is to help them with their healing process. But most people that want a psychic reading, it's like, what's going on in my life? Should I take this job? Is he cheating on me? Whatever the questions might be that are coming through, that's a different kind of a reading. So I think it's a great way to offer an additional, like an add-on or something additional, different modality, look at it in that way. So I have my most popular session is an energy healing and psychic reading combo. So people come for both. They get both in the session at the same time. I mean, they're separate portions of the session. When we're doing the psychic reading, we're sitting in a chair across from each other, talking about, what I'm feeling about their life. And then they go to the table and we're doing the energy healing portion. So it's separate.
Okay, so you would do the psychic reading first, and then you use that
Depends.
information perhaps then to help guide your Reiki session.
I sometimes I do it that way, and sometimes I do it the other way, where I feel like they need to relax first so that I can get a better connection with them. If somebody comes in really stressed out, I might want them to have a Reiki session first, so that then by the time we get done with that, they're more able to receive whatever we're going to talk about in the psychic reading. There also might be the fact that some people, you tell them something when you're doing a reading and then they're on the table just obsessing over it afterwards, like, oh, she told me he wasn't my soulmate, like that kind of stuff, whatever it's going in their mind. And then they can't relax and actually just receive the Reiki session. So that's also when your intuition, you're going to want to be checking in is, what does this person need today? Should we do the reading or the healing first? I always ask intuitively, not them. I ask intuitively, what do they need? And then we'll do whatever feels right for me. So I don't have a concrete order necessarily, as far as that goes, because not everybody needs the same thing around that. But they
Okay.
definitely are compatible, like reading and a healing session together. It's a great offering.
Yeah, one of my students told me that he's offering that on Etsy. I thought, well, how creative. I didn't know you could do that on Etsy.
Yeah, there's all sorts of ways people are reaching other people nowadays.
Yes. And then students have also asked me about astral projection and how can they learn about that? I mean, what would you tell them?
I mean, I think that it depends on where they're at in their spiritual development and evolution first. Like, are they comfortable with themselves? Because some of those techniques can be a lot more advanced than people realize, and just needing to come back into their bodies, or astral travel, astral projection, where kind of having an out of body experience where we're observing things from the outside of us. So I would say make sure that you're really comfortable with that sort of thing before you start exploring it. And then, just like everything that I mentioned earlier about setting boundaries with the spirit world, you can ask, like, say, hey, I'm really so grateful that you give me all these feelings. I would love to start seeing now. So can we work on my clairvoyance? Or, I had this spontaneous astral projection experience. I would love to learn how to intuitively do that. So if I sit and I work with you guys, can we do that on demand? And just start having this relationship where you're actually actively interacting with your spirit team, and they will respond to help you with that development if it's not through like a structured kind of class environment.
Mhm. Okay. And your spirit team, I mean, how do you know if you have a good team or if you've got bad spirits, I guess?
They're like, oh, that Karen Harrison, give her the C+ guides.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
I'm wondering, yeah.
I mean, for me, I think we all have an amazing spirit team. The spirit team is a compilation of spiritual beings who are there just, either we could look at it as an act of service where they're helping us. They're maybe more evolved and there to work with us. From spirit, there's also who may or may not have touched the earth at some point, depending on if you believe in reincarnation. I also feel like that we have ancestors and loved ones that once they make their transition, they can become part of our spirit team and helping to guide us or support us through our life's journey. Even sometimes ancestors that we never met can be a part of our spirit team. They can be angels, they can be guides that we're familiar with. So we can call on all of the above. And to me, I've never encountered a spirit guide that wasn't there necessarily to be helpful. Although, as we teach about in the Reiki classes, there are spiritual beings that maybe aren't as of the highest frequency, but I feel like our actual spirit guides are usually there in a very helpful way. I know when I first took my Holy Fire Karuna Reiki Master class, and that's when the Holy Fire got introduced, I had been working with other guides through another teacher. And every month we met a different spirit guide. And some of those guides continued to work with me. And then some of them decided that, they weren't a match. And I had my ignitions and they were kind of like, okay, we've done what we could for you. And I don't feel like they were lower vibrational energies. I just feel like they weren't any more needed for where I was at in the stages of my life. So some guides I feel are there for your duration of human existence, and other guides I feel come in at different times to work with you. And I have animal guides too. They don't all have to be humans or recognizable to us. So, yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, well, I have another question that students have asked me about, and that is working with intuition and doing things like magic mushrooms or ayahuasca. I don't know if you even want to share about that or not, or.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. It's a really important topic that I do want to talk a lot about, but not in the context of this conversation today. But I do think it's an important topic for us as an organization to talk about, because so many people are experimenting with plant medicines or looking to plant medicines to sometimes be a quick fix for their healing journey. And I believe that there are a lot of benefits to plant medicine, and under the right supervision and under the right care, there could be some extraordinary experiences. I have also seen a lot of people that have had some pretty uncomfortable experiences and didn't have the right integration or support afterwards. And because we are so, I don't know if susceptible is the right word, but my belief system is that when we're really open through any kind of substance that's mind altering in any way, we are more susceptible to spiritual energy. And so spiritual attachments can sometimes more easily take place through those experiences. And then people might have a really heavy experience or a bad experience because there's actual spirit energy there that is from a lower vibration, lower frequency, and they need to have spirit release work done. I just did that conference last month, and it was all about ethical journey to the altered states. And I thought it was so cool that they had not only mental health professionals, doctors, and other kinds of clinical workers, research people from really esteemed organizations and universities, but they also had myself and a shaman come and talk about energy and how that has an effect. And people were mentioning how they had had some pretty intense experiences, either being a sitter for people so they are like a guide while somebody's on a journey of plant medicine, where they felt something come into their body, or they had some kind of really heavy physical reaction while the person was on their trip, or also seeing people have this really crazy reaction to the plant medicines and then going into this bad trip direction. And they very much were saying like they felt some of that was spiritual energy, not just some kind of state of psychosis induced by the plants that they had ingested. So for me, I think it's something that people should do with caution, meaning be very mindful of the energy around you. If you have Reiki, prepare yourself, make sure you have support systems set up, integration coaches, whatever it is that you need, Reiki therapists, practitioners. Make sure the people that are doing it are really ethical and know what they're doing and have good experience. If you're doing it on your own, because obviously mushrooms people can get on their own, not so much ayahuasca, but mushrooms, just be really mindful of the energy around you and make sure you have kind of a plan to come back and integrate into your body. So that's what I feel, because you can go into pretty interesting places.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry to spring that on you at the last minute there. I just was thinking through what are all the different questions that my students have asked me, and they just kept bubbling up. And so thank you so much for allowing me to ask all of those. And we are pretty much at time, but is there anybody that has, a final question? No? Okay, well, hopefully I've just covered all the different things students have asked me about over the years, and I am so grateful to have the opportunity to ask somebody that is more experienced and to talk with you. So if you want to connect with Jules, her website is healingwithjules.com, and you can reach her through social media at Medium Jules and at Aura Lux Reiki. So yeah, do connect with her. I think it's awesome to have a psychic who does Reiki, who, has so many gifts and talents and abilities. So we're grateful for you, and we're grateful to have you as one of our licensed teachers through the International Center for Reiki Training.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay.
Thanks for being here, everybody, too.
All right. And thank you all for joining us. And this will be available on my website at KarenHarrison.net and also on my YouTube channel at Karen Harrison Reiki and other places where you get your podcasts. So join us next month on January, third Monday of the month at 7 Central. So thank you.